Hello there, Tickets of viewers. Back together in person. This is so awesome. We just saw the film It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. This film is directed by Marielle Heller and stars Tom Hanks and Matthew Rhys. And Alex, what were your thoughts on this film?
Man, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was definitely a good movie. No. This going into this movie, I expected something so different just by watching the trailers. Like, I thought it would just be this cozy, like, look at, Mr. Rogers and, like, the people he touched and everything. And it started out that way, and it ended out that way. And then in the middle, there was this whole movie that they didn't show in the trailers, and it was awesome. This was an awesome movie.
Excellently put, Alex. This film definitely, like you said, you walk in expecting it to be a certain kind of movie, and it definitely has those elements, but it totally has this almost surreal aspect to it in certain points of the film, and it totally, when that happens, it just elevates the movie from just like you said, an awesome movie, and it just brings everything together.
We thought we were just gonna get like this cute biopic and like a Tom Hanks feel-good story, but you get some like real, like, okay, if you're gonna go see this movie and like you don't want to know anything about it, like, pause this and go see it and then come back to this. And we're not gonna spoil anything. There's not really anything. It's a real life dude, but I guess the spoiler would be that they create a character. It's a fictional character that plays a journalist that goes and does a piece on him, and that they do show in the trailer. But the movie is way more about him healing with his family and Mr. Rogers like helping that, and they like show what Mr. Rogers was all about without telling you what Mr. Rogers was all about through this fictional character. And it was so cool to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah, Mr. Rogers is almost more of like this like presence in the movie, and it works so well. He really, the way they use Mr. Rogers in this movie is awesomely done. Tom Hanks is, I mean, when
the trailer first came out, I think the first thing I texted Joey, I was like, no, I can't. It's Tom Hanks playing Mr. Rogers. I will never be able to unsee that it's just Tom Hanks sitting in there doing a terrible accent for this Mr. Rogers character. But then I was like watching it, and I don't know, I was maybe like a third of the way in the movie, and they use close-ups like really well in this film. Like, they get real close and personal with some of these shots, and I'm like looking at his face, and I'm like, dang it, it's got to be Tom Hanks. Like, nobody can play this like Tom Hanks can, because they use words, but they zoom in. You got to see it. They zoom in on Mr. Rogers, and like when they ask questions, or you see like little like glimmers of like what he actually might have been like as a person. Like, there's so much going on in Tom Hanks's face to show you those kind of things before like it deflects into like another Mr. Rogers-ism. Like, you catch these little moments of like, oh wow, like you could tell that like really like got to him, or like he felt something there. And that was like, man, Tom Hanks is like, what a hot take. Tom Hanks is a great actor, but it's so good.
Oh yeah, and he absolutely just does such an amazing job in this role. Like you said, the scenes where him and the journalist, who's played excellently by Matthew Rhys, who really, like, seeing the contrast between those two individuals in this movie is, you see their relationship is just defined so well. And yeah, the scenes where they're talking to one another, you can definitely, what you said about kind of just seeing what Fred Rogers is thinking at that very moment. But yeah, but using what Matthew Rhys said to
bring that out of him,
yeah.
But then also what Mr. Rogers says to bring that out of, the other character that I can never remember the name of. And then one thing I was thinking about too, like toward the end of this, was like, you get toward the end of the movie and you're like, wow, like you didn't really get too much into the personal life of Fred Rogers. You see his wife in it a little bit. He talks about his sons, but you never see them. And I got to the end and I was like, oh, like this is kind of cool. You just catch glimmers of what he was like as a person through people asking him questions, and you see like clips of him on like other TV shows, and it's like, well, that's what we got in real life. You know, we knew kind of like, you know, he was a good person and who he was about, but like you never really got to that second level of like what he was really like on the inside. And what I'm trying to say is that you got those little pieces like the public did back when he was doing this through his interviews and through like stuff you would read about him and just people talking about him. So they gave you like those little pieces, kind of like you had in real life, and they didn't create like a character that was never really shown in real life.
Yeah, that is so like spot on. You got to see him. Like, it was so cool how they redid the interviews that Mr. Rogers did with Tom Hanks playing him. So that was really awesome. You got to see some clips of other interviews and some famous Mr. Rogers moments with Tom Hanks. That's always so cool when they do that.
Mm-hmm.
And another element about this film that really worked too was they combined kind of Mr. Rogers' neighborhood with the real world in certain scenes, and it was done so creatively. That was such a great creative choice.
Oh, it was so good. And if you've seen Game Night, you kind of know what we're talking about with some of the transitions. And yeah, oh, man, it would like cut in and out of like his set and the real world, and they would use pieces of their set to tell the story, and it was like, yeah, dang, the acting was so good, the story was good that they created, and then on top of that, like, it was stylistically awesome.
Oh, it totally felt, it was so perfectly 90s.
Magical 90s.
Magical 90s.
Like even to the detail of like having the right amount of grain like on the film, like not just when you were watching the show, but like when they were like in that mode, you know? Like it felt like a little blurry, it felt a little like 80s, 90s. And it was just really cool to watch. I don't know. This was a great movie. Most shockingly different movie that I've seen this year from the trailer. Totally.
This film will definitely, you go into this one, yeah, it'll totally be a different movie, but in the best way possible. It tugs
on
a
little bit of everything.
A little bit, yeah, because it has just a lot of great messages, and it tugs on the heartstrings for sure.
Boy, does it.
And I think your Guardians comparison is, I think, because those movies are about kind of the same messages in some way. I think so. I think it applies to this one.
But yeah, beautiful day. It's a beautiful day to see this movie.
It was. Hey, thanks for seeing the movie with me.
I appreciate you all.
Yes.
For who you are right now.
Exactly. You're all awesome. Seriously. And Alex is awesome too.
You're awesome, Joe.
This is so nice. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. We had a great time seeing It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. If you've seen the movie, definitely let us know your thoughts in the comments. And have an awesome night.
I want to put a sweater on.